Ready Player One is a middle-of-the-road summer popcorn flick filled with spectacular visual effects, feel-good heroism, and attempts at genuine emotion that never quite land. Oddly, the weakest parts of the film are the scenes with the least computer-generated imagery. The movie is the classic hero's journey about a young man named Wade Watts, who spends most of his time in an immersive, virtual world called the Oasis. Wade is on a quest to find the Easter eggs hidden away by the original creator, James Halliday. In a strange way, Ready Player One is fascinating and forgettable at the same time. However, what interests me the most is the philosophy and religion of Ready Player One. It wasn't until I watched Just Right's excellent analysis video, The Unrealized Potential of Ready Player One, that I realized what the film is really about. Worship. I felt foolish not noticing the obvious religious symbolism and even the mention that people worship the creator of the Oasis, James Halliday. I'm not going to retread too much of what Just Right covers, so watch his video if you're looking for specific details. I'll just highlight that the protagonist, Wade Watts, is in fact an atheist, but simultaneously a devout worshiper. What does he worship? The Oasis itself, the creator of the Oasis, James Halliday, and the pop culture that Halliday himself worshipped. It lines up with what I already believe, that we as humans are in fact created to worship. What do I mean by worship? I mean the praise, expression, gratitude, love, and indulgence in someone or something, to find intense satisfaction in. Some would argue that the word worship is confusing to those who don't identify as religious, but I would disagree. The nuance will differ, but the essence of the concept is familiar to everyone. Halliday is like God, or a messenger from God in this story. The lifestyle, values, and beliefs of Halliday form Wade's worldview, and he tries his best to emulate and follow after Halliday's example. What would Halliday do? Wade is also in love with the Oasis, which is why he continues to worship Halliday. This person who created something he worships and enjoys is also deserving of worship. To be a disciple of Halliday, Wade must worship and hold sacred what Halliday holds sacred, which is pop culture from the 1970s and 80s. These not-so-subtle character details mirror Ready Player One's author Ernest Cline, also an atheist worshiper of 80s pop culture, while shamelessly pandering to the intended audience of the film, nostalgia-driven pop culture acolytes. Add Steven Spielberg, the film's director, one of the most significant creators in pop culture history, and you have the promised land of 80s fandom. Ready Player One represents a significant moment for the Church of Pop. Pop culture and nostalgia have hit a fever pitch, and Ready Player One embodies the very zeitgeist fueling that momentum. The fandoms are bigger than ever before, with ever more forms of distribution and mind-numbing amounts of content being created. Consumers as a collective can indulge and gorge themselves on pop culture ad nauseum. Consider then how Hollywood and many other industries seem obsessed with appealing to nostalgia. And why wouldn't they be? Nostalgia sells. Since the mid-2000s, every summer blockbuster season includes more remakes, reboots, or reimaginings of existing properties. Everything calls back to something, a moment or experience you've already had that can be repackaged and resold for more profit, and the promise that everything you loved so much from an earlier time can continue to live on forever. Rarely, however, do these promises deliver. More often than not, the magic is lost, and what we get is a soulless cash grab that not only fails to recapture the excitement of past experiences, but may in fact taint our memories. This is Ready Player One, a movie based solely on the worship of the past that never delivers on its failed promises. It's a well-crafted, mostly mindless shell of an experience that requires almost nothing from you and leaves you with just as much. It says more about our time and culture than I have time to examine. Now, in the interest of transparency and honesty, I would like to confess my own idolatry at the altar of pop culture nostalgia. I can't count the numerous times I've watched trailers or read an article or made a purchase hoping to recapture the magic of a childhood experience or memory. The reality, though, was the more I came back to that well, the thirstier I became. It's like salt water. The continued disappointment was palpable. So we desire to worship and be satisfied by entertainment and nostalgia, and yet the joy and satisfaction continues to elude us. Ironically, Ernest Cline's atheist fiction makes an interesting case for God. Notable Christian theists like C.S. Lewis and John Piper demonstrate that Scripture points to the human desire for eternal and infinite joy, eternity in the hearts of man. This leads to the conclusion that our desire for infinite joy can only be found in what or whom is infinite, which, as the argument concludes, only applies to an eternal and infinite God. The soul continuing on after death and into eternity will only find its true joy in God. In this sense, it's not absurd that people would look for joy and satisfaction in the elusive and abstract feeling of nostalgia. The direct complement of this pursuit would be the promise of better and more satisfying content to experience in the future, maybe even based off the content we loved so much in the past. And so Ready Player One sits at the exact intersection of these two motivations and spectacularly disappoints in both. A hollow shell of cinema mirroring the very soul of the culture it so badly wants to satisfy. And like Wade Watts, realizing he craves more than 24/7 virtual reality, or depressed James Halliday himself, the nostalgic high quickly wears off, and the dedicated worshippers return to waiting for the next big, old thing to make a comeback. Meanwhile, eternity keeps calling. And this leads me to my final question. What do you think? Is Ready Player One the poster child for nostalgia worship? Am I being too hard on this summer popcorn flick? Let me know your thoughts on this and whatever else in the comments below. Also, if there's other videos or topics you'd like me to cover, please let me know. And feel free to share this with a friend, particularly one who likes movies or may have seen Ready Player One. And lastly, feel free to subscribe to my channel so that you can get more content in the future. Thanks for watching.